Healing from trauma, psychological trauma and violation, feels great, and it also feels awful. I was thinking about a metaphor for that just before I sat down to make videos today. And the metaphor was actually making these videos. It feels great for me to make these videos. I love it. It's a place where I can share my gift, my experience, the wisdom, the hard-fought wisdom that I have learned. I can reach others. I can explore my life experience for the value of being useful in the world, being a force for good and for growth and for healing. It gives my life some value and purpose beyond pretty much everything else I am doing and creating. And that's why I do it again and again and again. But at the same time, it feels awful to make these videos. It takes a lot of energy for me to be able to, in a way, pull out of the regular world, pull out of the regular, normal interactions that daily life requires of me. Pull away from the sick, average people of the norm, their troubled wisdom that they hold to be so true, the troubled psychology that the psychologists and therapists and the media call true, and pull away from all their sick ideas that don't help people heal. Oh, you have to forgive. Oh, you have to let go of forgiveness. Oh, honor your parents. They loved you more than anyone. Or parents love their children unconditionally, mothers especially. They love their children unconditionally, and everybody knows that. And it's like, well, that wasn't my experience. And when I look below the surface at, well, most others, most everyone around me, it doesn't seem like it was their experience too. Yet they deny it and gloss over it and bury it. And, well, sadly, to survive in the world with them, to work and make my few dollars that I make to survive and eke out my living, I gotta somehow play by their rules. And I can't speak like this around them. Almost anywhere in the world, almost with anybody. It's like normal people don't get this. They don't want to get this. It actually directly threatens them. And it's like I have to become a universe unto myself to prepare myself to sit down and be able to access that true part of me that can speak the truth. And it's not easy to do that. It's very difficult to do that. I actually have to do a lot of preparation. I have to often, like the day before, stay away from a lot of people in the world, keep my interactions with others to a minimum to protect myself. But the really hard part, the really awful part after I make these videos is what goes on in my head afterward. The readjustment back to society. And not just the society that's out there now in the 2020s in my 50-something-year-old mind. It's the society of my family system that in some part still lives embedded deep, deep inside of me, buried down there in the, well, still partially wounded little baby inside of me that still wants my parents to love me in some small part. I see that part still within everyone, and I keep that part uncovered. I still look at that part and feel that part of me. It matures and I've done a lot of maturing through my healing of my traumas, but some part of it still remains. I see it in my dreams and I feel it, and I think even some people who have done a fair amount of healing from trauma can forget about that part because, well, it's inconvenient, because it's like, it still hurts. I had a dream last night of such sorrow. It was about my father, just seeing so clearly in the dream just how much he didn't really love me and didn't really care, in spite of all the, I love you, Daniel, you're my favorite son. But even back then, his attitude showed me he didn't, and yet the sorrow that I felt when he abandoned me in so many different ways, it's like a lot of that I had to put down deep inside of myself, and I know it, and I've done so much healing from it and become so much more of an alive, mature person, healthy person as the result of this healing. But, well, my dreams, this dream I had last night shows me there's still some very, very young part of me that, well, is reconnecting with the sorrow that I once felt when I was that young. That's some stunted, traumatized part of me in me still. And, well, I didn't make videos yesterday, but I made a couple of videos the day before that. And that dream, well, that dream, that's, it was so sad. I woke up with tears in my eyes in the middle of the night. But that's a gift of peeling away these layers of societal and familial denial. A gift of making these videos. It's journaling. Years and years I did of journaling, decades of journaling. Before I ever sat in front of the camera and made a single YouTube video, before YouTube ever existed, it's like very painful process, and it was kind of parallel to making these videos in some ways, really exploring myself in a free way so no one would ever look at it except for me. Giving myself a safe environment, a protected environment with boundaries, boundaries that I was never allowed as a child, but boundaries in my journal to really be curious about my history with no negative consequences, negative from them. But it was scary, but it was easier in a way, sitting in front of a camera now, speaking this truth. Well, at the moment, right now, it's like I'm on a roll, and I have the strength of safety of knowing that I can press stop if I want. I don't have to make this public. Many of my videos I don't make public, but some I do, and that's a terrifying process. Also, brings up a lot of fear in me. And then I extrapolate outward and think, what about other people who are doing this healing process? Can I blame them for not being so public? No, 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 no. I cannot blame them at all. I think the privacy in healing is a wonderful thing. It's a necessary thing. I really think, I know it, we need privacy. We need confidentiality within our own selves to heal. Being public about it is extremely dangerous. I speak from personal experience. Making these videos public, it's extremely difficult. It's only possible for me to even speak this way in front of a camera, let alone to make it public, because of the decades of inner healing work, of feeling all that anger and making sure I knew what I was talking about, and making sure that I knew the truth about my sick family system and my sick parents and their sick parents and their sick parents before them, and what all this sickness did to me, all the violation and abandonment and rejection and violence and humiliation and injustice and cheating. I knew what had happened to me. I knew how it had affected me. I knew how I had been healing from it before I ever made a single YouTube video. And, well, I started making these YouTube videos 15 years ago, and it's still hard. Perhaps it always will be. Perhaps there will be a day when this still partially wounded little infant inside of me will be resolved, where I, in my mature adult psyche parts of me, will be able to hold him and love him more than I can do now. Maybe someday I won't have dreams of sorrow about my limited father, wake up with tears in my eyes. Maybe. But for the time being, whoo, it is hard, it's hard, it's hard. And again, I just said, this is just a metaphor. What I'm talking about with these videos is just a metaphor for the whole psychological healing process. So difficult, so painful. I really get why so few people do it, especially in families that are even tighter, where there is not the escape hatches that I found. I had to claw my way out of my family, claw my way out, and they had hooks in me, pulling me back in again and again and again. I think some families are even worse than mine. I see them. Some cultures are worse than mine. I've seen it. I travel a lot. I see cultures where there's less room to escape, less room to speak up, less room to explore any of these ideas, where religion is more powerful. These sick, backward religions that are pretty much all of them, from what I see, that don't allow deeper healing, don't allow deeper criticism of the family system, specifically of one's parents. How do people get out then? I think it just takes more work and more strength and more perspective, more persistence, perhaps more creativity. I don't know. I only say that because, well, I think it's possible, given a few different factors in my past. Maybe I wouldn't have escaped if things had been a little bit different. Or maybe I would have. I really don't know. I don't know. It's like there's a certain mystery in my escape from my family system, in my escape from the lies that were embedded in me. There's some mystery about why I could look within and look at what I had become, because I'd become like them in a lot of ways. And if I'd stuck around longer, I would have become my parents. Would have probably gotten married and had children and done to them what they did unto me and what their parents did unto them. And somehow I started getting out and figured out that I needed to get out more. And where did I even start this video? Where did I start this riff that I'm going off on? And where will I go now? I wish anyone who is engaging in the healing process, really looking at what happened to them on the inside, looking at how they were harmed, how it affected them, what feelings are locked inside, what kind of people they became as the result of the harm that they experienced, ways in which they are crippled, we are crippled. Not easy to look at this, not easy to look at broken sides of ourselves that didn't love ourselves and didn't love others and couldn't love ourselves and couldn't love others, and sometimes actually overtly harmed ourselves and harmed others, just as replications of the ways in which we had been harmed and abandoned and not loved. To heal, to become a new being, a new species, a new creation in this world, the likes of which have never been seen, turning this concept of Homo sapiens, Homo man, sapiens wise, wise man, turning this concept on its head and saying, Homo sapiens is not wise. The prizes that are given to the great people, the Nobel Prizes, are a joke, and the people called geniuses often are just dissociated geniuses in some little specialized area that has nothing to do with being a real and true person. The people we hold up to be the greatest geniuses in the world, what were they? Leonardo da Vinci, spending so much of his time trying to get in the good graces of rich people and making weapons of war to murder other people. What if he'd lived now and had the potential to really look at who he was and how he was rejected and harmed and abandoned, and instead of making weapons to destroy others, harm others, he could use his knowledge for healing. What can we do now in a time in history that's still crazy and perhaps heading toward the edge of, well, the edge of nature? What does our future hold? The end of humanity, perhaps, and yet what can turn it around? I think this can, the looking within, the telling the truth about where we came from in the most primary way, reclaiming the most beautiful thing that babies have and children have and lose along the way in this traumatizing world, the traumatizing families and societies and religions. Reclaiming our curiosity, our desire, our hunger for truth. Reclaiming our desire and our ability to love ourselves and to love others. It's the only hope I have.